Chapter 641. Times have changed. Tang Ru and Steamed Bun had leveled their characters from level 1, so they each had a good grasp of their respective classes. However, their understanding of the other classes were far from enough. Even though they had an incredible win record in the arena, that was mostly through reliance on their superior mechanics. Just their mechanics alone allowed them to stand at the top of the game. However, in the pro scene, their mechanics weren't good enough to beat others. Their characters were almost max leveled, but because they had decided to enter the pro scene, there was no need to study things like dungeons or bosses. PvP had its own set of knowledge that needed to be mastered. They didn't have much time on their hands, so they couldn't waste their time studying pointless things. It seems like an encyclopedia like you, who is proficient in all of the classes, is finally finding some use. Wei Chen patted Yi Shu's shoulder. Directly practicing PvP was the most enjoyable way to learn. Yi Shu had to agree too, but if Tang Ru and Steamed Bun tried to accumulate experience through the arena, their harvest wouldn't be very fruitful. Their skill level surpassed the scope of difficulty that the arena could provide them with. They could overwhelm opponents with just their mechanics alone. Very few players could provide any sort of challenge for them. It was like killing level 30 monsters as a level 60 character. The experience gain couldn't even be considered a consolation prize. In-game leveling, as well as improving one's PvP skill, were similar in this way. At this point, Yi Shu might need to personally train them. This type of practice is necessary. Yi Shu didn't avoid the subject. It looks like we're going to need another set of accounts. Haha, that shouldn't be a problem. Wei Chen was a rich man now. He looked online and bought a set of accounts. Yi Shu had finished watching Tyranny's VODs, so he closed them. It was a pity that no one could share the same feelings that he felt right now. Once the match between Tyranny and Misty Rain ended, the first half of the first round had been completed. Each team would play 2 matches in the first round before their points were tallied up and the winner was declared, so for these first matches, no one would really win or lose them. People looked at their total points and examined which team had the advantage or which was at a disadvantage. Whether the team was playing in their home stadium or in an away stadium mattered. The team that could choose the maps for the match had a large advantage, especially in the playoffs. The teams would naturally choose their most proficient maps. On the 5th day, the second match between Samsara and Thunderclap began. This time, the match took place in Samsara's home stadium. Samsara had already obtained a huge lead in their away game. All of the pressure was on Thunderclap, who relied on analyzing and planning appropriate strategies to counter their opponents. With Samsara's sudden improvement in characters, even after a 4-day rest to adjust their strategies, it didn't seem likely that Thunderclap would be able to defeat Samsara. Even Xiao Shiken wouldn't be able to calculate exactly how much of an advantage the skill points that Samsara's characters had gained would give them. In addition to that, a strategy-centered team like Thunderclap relied greatly on the map that was chosen. It could be seen from their regular season that Thunderclap won significantly more home games than they did away games. In their second match, Samsara won handily. This match could be considered an effortless victory on their part. However, after the first match ended, when others analyzed the match, quite a few people, along with Xiao Shiken, had noticed that the skill points on Samsara's characters seemed to be different. After all, when a skill was leveled up, there would be a slight change in the effects. This sort of change was easy to perceive by experienced players. In the post-match interview, the keen reporters asked about this issue. Unfortunately, they encountered Samsara's team captain, Zhou Zakai. Everyone wanted to know the answer to this question, but all they got was a was that or a No one understood what he was trying to say. All of the reporters wanted to slam their heads against a wall. Seeing the reporters want to cough blood when they heard Zhou Zekai's response to their question was a sight that Samsara enjoyed very much. Today, they had won the first round of the playoffs, so they were even happier right now, but they couldn't ignore this question forever. In the end, the vice-captain Zhang Batao came forward for an interview and gave a definite answer. This definite answer confirmed that Samsara's characters had improved in terms of skill points, but Zhang Batao obviously wouldn't say the exact increase in skill points. It would soon be figured out, but the longer they could keep it a secret, the better. As for Thunderclap, after Xiao Shiken expressed his feelings for being eliminated in the first round, he didn't immediately convey his confidence for the future, like what most players usually did. Instead, Xiao Shikan suddenly began talking about his career. Xiao Shikan had been a player who had become famous early on. Starting from when he was first discovered, he had become well known for his decision-making and control rather than his mechanics. The Thunderclap players, who had noticed his potential, regarded him as a team player. Xiao Shikan didn't fail to live up to his expectations. Starting from the 4th season, he soon became the cornerstone of Team Thunderclap and took over the team as the captain. He and his character Life Extinguisher were frequent guests at the All-Stars. Along with Tyranny's Zhang Jinji, Blue Rain's Yu Wenzhou, and Excellent Era's Yi Chu, he was the last of Glory's 4 master tacticians. But compared to the other 3 master tacticians, Xiao Shikan's career was less successful. He was an incredible tactician and strategist, but it was a pity that he didn't have an ace player on his team. This was what most people felt towards Xiao Shikan. Team Thunderclap wasn't a powerhouse. Apart from Xiao Shikan and his Life Extinguisher, there were no other all-star level players or characters on their team. As for the other 3, Zhang Jinji had Han Wenqing and the King of Fighters, Desert Smoke, by his side. Yu Wenzhou had Huang Shaoshan and the Sword Saint, Troubling Rain, by his side. Yi Chu was even better. He himself was considered the Alliance's #1 attacker and controlled the legendary battle god, One Autumn Leaf. These 3 were not only incredible tacticians and strategists, but all of them had god-level teammates or god-level accounts to support them. Only Xiao Shikan didn't have any strong helpers. He could only rely on his tactics to utilize his team's lackluster potential to its fullest. Unfortunately, this wasn't enough to become the champion, let alone maintain a stable position at the top of the standings in the regular season. Times have changed. After reminiscing about his career, Xiao Shikan sighed. The experienced reports instantly sniffed out a few leads. Times have changed. Is he talking about Team Thunderclap making changes? Or is Xiao Shikan talking about himself making changes? From how emotional Xiao Shikan was being after recalling his career, it was more likely that he himself would be making changes. Before the reporter could ask any further questions, Xiao Shikan already began speaking. That was my final match with Thunderclap. I am grateful for the club that I've been with for so many years, my teammates, and my fans. I have grown with this team for my entire career and it has not been an easy decision for me to come to. I am sorry that I cannot continue moving forward with everyone for another season, but no matter where I go in the future, Thunderclap will always be the team that raised me. The reporters immediately became excited. An ace player like Xiao Shikan was actually going to transfer teams. It was as if a huge bomb had been dropped. From the reactions of his teammates, it seemed like they already knew about this decision. They didn't look shocked. They wished him well and gave him their blessings. I hope everything goes well for him. He has the ability to become a champion. We've been dragging him down. No matter where he goes, I'll always be his #1 fan. All of Team Thunderclap's other members expressed their goodwill towards Xiao Shikan's departure. Even though none of these players were stars in the pro scene, through the tactics and teamwork that brought them together, they had a deeper relationship with one another. No one felt betrayed by Xiao Shijan's departure. They sincerely gave him their blessings. His departure was saddening, but also warm. Xiao Shikan thanked his teammates for the support they gave him and his words were sincere. He's actually planning on transferring. Xiao Shikan was someone in the younger generation, who Wei Chen had never fought against before. He was currently at the peak of his career, so Wei Chen had obviously heard of him before. I don't think the core of a team like him has ever transferred to another team before, no? Sun Shang, Yi Shu said. That monkey came out of a thatched cottage. Does that even count? Wei Chen expressed. That doesn't count, Yi Shu said. Fine, Wei Chen didn't argue. Where do you think he will go? Blue Rain. Tyranny. I don't think any of those teams will take him. His capabilities would collide with Yu Wenzhou or Zhang Jinji. He wouldn't be able to fully display his strength. Tiny Herb has Wang Jiaxi. They probably don't need him, unless Tiny Herb plans on having Wang Jiaxi change playstyles and become an offense-oriented witch. Oh, that's actually quite possible if you think about it. There's another team who needs him even more than Tiny Herb does, Yi Shu said. Which team? Wei Chen was thinking. Excellent Era, Yi Shu said. *T. Wei Chen was startled, but he immediately realized the likelihood of it happening. Excellent Era's future core will definitely be Sun Shang. In order to get him to be accepted by the team or develop a good set of tactics for him, they need someone like Xiao Shikan, Yi Shu said. Excellent Era just got F*King relegated. Would he actually be stupid not to run over to Excellent Era? Wei Chen shook his head. With Excellent Era's foundation and Sun Shang still there, no one doubts that they will return to the alliance next season, no? If they had Xiao Shikan, they will definitely have the strength to directly win the championships, or perhaps that isn't his thoughts, Yi Shu said. No, that's not good. He can't think like that. Wei Chen was still shaking his head. Why not? Yi Shu said. Then that F*CKER wants us to die, Wei Chen cursed. Chapter 642. Top 4. Wei Chen's worry was sincere. Team Excellent Era with Sun Shang and one Autumn Leaf was already terrifying as is. Now, there might even be a Xiao Shikan too. For someone like Xiao Shikan, it didn't really matter what type of character he played. His value wasn't measured in his battle strength. If he successfully joined Excellent Era, if Sun Shang could be melded to dance to his tune, Excellent Era would absolutely be at a level where they could take the championships. Having a team that hadn't even gathered all of its team members yet challenge a championship-level team? Wei Chen felt like their hopes were only diminishing as more time passed. What are you scared of? In any case, you have plenty of money now. Even if you lose, you won't be starving, Yi Shu said. This senior would rather be starving, Wei Chen humphed. Chen Guo and the others had listened to their discussion. Steamed Bun was as calm as ever. Tang Ru felt even more motivated after hearing that there would be another formidable opponent to face. Chen Guo was more worried than anyone else like usual. In any case, we'll have to face them. You've already become so nervous just thinking about the possibility of Xiao Shikan joining Excellent Era. What if Excellent Era didn't stop there and obtain several more amazing players? What would you do? Jump out the window? Yi Shu said. F*CK, besides this guy surnamed Xiao, who else would be that stupid? Wei Chen had originally been indifferent towards Xiao Shikan, but after discovering that he might be a potential enemy in the future and a formidable one at that, he immediately viewed him with distaste. After the post-match interview ended, the community instantly erupted. Samsara's victory had been too easy, so no one talked too much about the match. Suddenly, a huge bomb was thrown out, shaking various levels of glory. Xiao Shikan had said that he would be transferring teams out of his own mouth. The discussion within the community was naturally focused on which team he would be joining. There were all sorts of analyses. Wei Chen read them and criticized, stupid, too stupid. Yi Shu turned his head and gave a glance. It was a post talking about Xiao Shikan's likelihood of joining Excellent Era. The poster's analysis was quite reasonable. If an expert like Xiao Shikan joined Excellent Era, he would be sacrificing a year, but afterwards, the team would become a first-rate championship team. Wei Chen simply didn't want to see this type of situation happening, so the more reasonable the analysis was, the more he hated it. It was as if acting like this would kill any chances of Xiao Shikan joining Excellent Era. Compared to the commotion within the community, Yi Shu looked at the pro player group in QQ. There was a bit of a discussion going on there, but the players speaking were those that hadn't made it to the playoffs. The playoff teams were nervously preparing for their matches. They didn't have the free time to chat. For them, no matter which team Xiao Shikan ended up going to, that team would become a formidable opponent. For the first round, the key issue that they needed to look into was Samsara's improvement. Samsara would be the most formidable opponent that they would be facing in the near future. As a result, the various teams needed to hurry up and figure out Samsara's exact situation. The more Wei Chen looked at the analyses, the angrier he became. Many of them pointed at Xiao Shikan possibly joining Excellent Era. Eventually, Wei Chen finally slammed the table. Steamed Bun, what level are you? Hurry up. There's no time. Hurry up and get to max level so we can start practicing. Okay. I'm leveling right now, Steamed Bun replied energetically. Sigh, the bad news comes right after the good news. What an ordeal, Wei Chen sighed. His incredible joy at earning so much money had been completely wiped away. Be a bit more calm. You're always panicking. You're over 30 already. Pick 2 young players out of the competitive scene and their ages combined would be less than yours. They wouldn't be as nervous as you either. Don't you feel ashamed of yourself? Yi Shu said. I have to express my feelings somehow. Holding it in would affect my condition too much, Wei Chen said. Soon, they witnessed how Wei Chen planned on expressing his feelings. Samsara had easily pranced through the first round of playoffs. The entire guild was full of joy. On the other hand, Wei Chen seemed to have eaten an explosive. When he led his team, he shouted at them furiously as if they were lower than dogs. Yi Shu glanced at Wei Chen's screen. His team had just started killing a small mob of monsters. By the time they reached the boss, his entire team would have probably disconnected from being lectured so miserably. The 6th day, 7th day, and 8th day passed. The playoffs wouldn't stop because of the commotion. The matches continued. Blue Rain and Tiny Herb defeated 301 and Void without a hitch. Oh, Blue Rain and 301's match should have been before Samsara and Thunderclaps. I forgot, but it shouldn't matter too much as long as everyone knows. However, in the match between Tyranny and Misty Rain maintained their advantage in their away game and won against Tyranny. Even though Tyranny was a powerhouse team, being eliminated by Team Misty Rain wasn't too shocking. After all, Tyranny's ace player Han Wenking was old. At the start of the alliance, he had fought for 3 championship titles against Excellent Era. In the 4th season, they ended Excellent Era's dominance and Tyranny's golden age had begun. Now, as the seasons went by and the next generation of players were taking over, Tyranny and Excellent Era began to decline in the eyes of others. In addition, no team in the playoffs could be considered weak. If not, wouldn't the playoffs be boring? When Tyranny was eliminated, their captain Han Wenking expressed his sorrows, but he didn't seem to be in low spirits. We'll be back next year. His words seemed to cover Team Misty Rain's victory spotlight. Be that as it may, the media generally reported it as the end of an era. Of the 2 top gods in the past, one had retired and the other was struggling to hang on. Of the 2 former dragons, one had been relegated, while the other had been eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. When Han Wenking said, "We'll be back next year," everyone considered it to be his stubbornness to continue. It was admirable, but some things couldn't change by conviction alone. Tyranny might be able to stand on stage for the playoffs again, but few believed that they still had the competitive strength to take the championship home, especially after witnessing Excellent Era falling and getting relegated. Some even wondered if Tyranny would quickly collapse and never recover. The Tyranny fans strongly opposed this view, of course. You're joking, some of the fans scoffed. Don't forget who our captain is. He's someone who wasn't discouraged after failing to win the championships 3 years in a row. Then, in the 4th year, he dethroned Excellent Era. As long as Han Wenking is there, our Tyranny will never end up like Excellent Era. As Tyranny's fans, they weren't polite at all with Excellent Era. They had laughed as Excellent Era declined during the regular season. People were now grouping Tyranny with Excellent Era. How could they bear it? When the first round of the playoffs had ended, there were countless questions left unanswered. The 4 that advanced were Blue Rain, Samsara, Tiny Herb, and Misty Rain and were without a doubt powerful teams. Among the eliminated teams, many of them had been moved. But time didn't stop for anyone. The 4 advancing teams quickly began the next round. Blue Rain versus Misty Rain, Samsara versus Tiny Herb. The outcome of these 2 confrontations would decide who would advance to the finals. At Happy Internet Cafe, they were also in a discussion when they saw Tyranny get eliminated. Didn't he change? How did they still lose? Chen Guo found it hard to understand how Tyranny had lost. Did you think he would go Super Saiyan? Yi Shu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He's changed, but he's still trying to figure it out. The strengths and weaknesses of his changes haven't shown yet. As Yi Shu explained the reason to Chen Guo, he contacted Little Cold Hands. I've received your account card, Yi Shu reported to Little Cold Hands. Okay, Little Cold Hands replied. After I increase your skill points, you should know that the value of your account card will be very different, Yi Shu said. I know. So this account can no longer be considered solely yours, Yi Shu said. I understand, Little Cold Hands replied. You punk. When we give back the account card, shouldn't you hand us a down payment? Wei Chen suddenly popped in. He didn't care about the 2,000. Let alone Wei Chen being rich now. Even when things had been difficult, Wei Chen had never placed much importance on money. Because of this, he hadn't liked how Little Cold Hands had bickered about it. Then how much should I give? Little Cold Hands asked. That depends on how many skill points we get once we finish clearing all the quests, Wei Chen said. But isn't giving a down payment improper practice? Little Cold Hands said. You punk. When you asked for a down payment, what was proper about that? Wei Chen flared up. You were the one to propose the down payment, Little Cold Hands said. Stop speaking nonsense, Wei Chen retorted, when he discovered that everyone else was staring at him. What? I proposed it, Wei Chen scratched it. Everyone nodded their heads. Fine. I was just trying to show some goodwill. Who would have thought that this punk would actually agree, Wei Chen said. In the group chat, Yi Shu asked, Student N, what are your thoughts? Usually, if a team needs a player's account, don't they usually buy out the account? Little Cold Hands said. Usually, Yi Shu said. Then I won't return the 2,000 and I'll say that you guys bought it out, Little Cold Hands said. F***ck me. The first thing you do is earn 2,000 from us. How capable of you, Wei Chen shouted. It's just an account transfer, that's all. If it isn't clear who owns the account, that isn't good, no, Little Cold Hands said. Chapter 643. The Standard Way. Comrades. After Little Cold Hands' reply, Yi Shu gave a sincere and heartfelt lecture. If our team plans on developing itself in the long term, this is the correct attitude to have. Everyone correct yourself. My Lord Grimm, Steamed Bun Invasion, Little Tang's Soft Mist, Old Way's Windward Formation, who do these accounts belong to? For an old player like Old Way, after playing for another 2 years, he'll most likely retire again. Will he be taking his account with him? Will we wait until the time comes before talking about it? What if negotiations don't go well? Without accounts, how will our team continue to compete? In addition, Old Way currently has 20 million on him and he's already invested 2 million in materials for our team. When our team registers and forms a club, how much of a % share does he get for that investment? Yi Shu said. I'll consider the 2 million as your pay for closing the deal, Wei Chen waved his hands. Okay, I've already invested 2 million worth of materials into the team. When our team registers and forms a club, how much of a % share do I get for that investment? Yi Shu corrected himself. F***ck, you're not nice at all, Wei Chen said. None of it matters if we don't get through the Challenger League. If we officially enter the pro scene through the Challenger League, all of this needs to be cleared up in order for our team to continue operating without us being there, Yi Shu said. Wei Chen didn't say anything. He had been a part of the pro scene before. He had witnessed these types of situations before with his own eyes. In the early years, a lot of ideas weren't fully developed yet. Quite a few teams with potential relied on their passion alone to carry the team, but without proper management, all of them collapsed and had to leave the stage preemptively. In truth, Wei Chen liked that sort of pure passion. At the time, he had quite a few conflicts with this sort of management. However, reality slapped him in his face. They could share trials and tribulations, but they couldn't share the riches and honors. No one liked this sort of situation, but this was how everything was done. It would be hard to find even a single special exception. With the issue laid bare, Wei Chen felt a bit awkward listening to it, but he knew that Yi Shu was correct. Wei Chen was a former pro player and a senior, so he felt like he had to give an example. He cleared his throat and spoke, what's there to talk about? My account belongs to the team. This is how we'll settle it. I'll do the same too, Tang Ru immediately followed. Even though she didn't have any experience in the pro scene, she was an understanding person. What Yi Shu talked about wasn't just something that happened in the pro scene either. It was a very normal occurrence. Tang Ru understood the reasoning behind it and didn't hesitate to hand over her account to the team. What does that mean? Steamed Bun was confused. Declaring his stance without understanding the situation was Steamed Bun's style though. As a result, Steamed Bun quickly followed. Well, you guys are all doing it, so I guess I'll do the same too. My account now belongs to the team? Good Steamed Bun, Wei Chen praised. Thanks, Steamed Bun was excited. Boss, look. These accounts belong to you from now on, Yi Shu said to Chen Guo. Chen Guo didn't know how to react. You'd better not scam us, Yi Shu said. What are you talking about? Chen Guo was furious. He dared to question her morals. I'll let the team use these accounts for now. If you guys want to leave in the future, how could I trouble you guys? Chen Guo expressed her goodwill. If you're planning on managing the team, that isn't something that you should be saying, no? If we suddenly come up one day and ask for these accounts, will you actually give them to us? When that time comes, what will the other player use to compete? Yi Shu said. Who would have thought Chen Guo would actually laugh? The question is, will there ever be a day like that? Everyone happily handed their accounts to the team. It was symbolic of their trust in her. At the same time, her expression of goodwill was a symbol of her trust in everyone else. She believed that none of them would dare to do anything to trouble the team. That's hard to say. Yi Shu just had to damage the beautiful scene. There are some really shameless people here. Yeah, you have to be extremely careful of him. Wei Chen immediately stood up. The two started insulting each other again. Chen Guo wouldn't bother with their trash talking. As the boss, she looked for little cold hands in the group chat and talked about a few issues. The discussion went smoothly. Little cold hands had even more thoughts than Chen Guo. She couldn't be blamed though. After all, apart from little cold hands, her relationship with everyone else had developed through their friendship. With Chen Guo's personality, she had realized a few issues, but she felt too embarrassed to talk about them. As for little cold hands, he talked in a very business-like manner. Chen Guo realized that a lot of issues were easily resolved. For example, in the Challenger League, everyone went in as a team, but most of the teams in the Challenger League had participated in it before. Getting into the pro scene? For most people, this was just a dream. Besides the club teams regarding it as a revival tournament, very few teams had serious plans on actually becoming a pro team. The vast majority of teams were made up of good friends in the game. Before the tournament began, they would hastily form a team, register, and have a fun time. Or sometimes, a few outstanding players would be noticed and then taken away by the pro teams. Up until now, no new teams had stepped into the pro scene through the Challenger League. As a result, Chen Guo and Little Cold Hands seriously discussed the issue of whether or not they were considered a pro team, while they were participating in the Challenger League. If they were considered a pro team, then the team would need contracts and wages. Under normal circumstances, most of the participants were there to have fun. Having wages was a joke. Who would beg their friend to come with them? And even pay him? Chen Guo originally had this attitude towards Little Cold Hands, but then she thought about how difficult it had been for Yi Shu to find Little Cold Hands. Although he wasn't as precious as an actual pro player, Yi Shu had been a spy in tyrannical ambition for such a long time and had played with many clerics, yet even so, wasn't Little Cold Hands the only one that he picked? Little Cold Hands wasn't good enough to be at the top, but he was much better than everyone below him. Saying he was irreplaceable would be too much of an overstatement, but saying he was useless would be treating Yi Shu's efforts as unrivaled super hottie as a waste of time. This issue was a lot harder to resolve with Little Cold Hands compared to Wei Chen and Steamed Bun. Those two were friends. If they were invited over, they would come. Chen Guo had attended to their living needs during this time. They didn't care about what happened during the Challenger League, but what should she say to Little Cold Hands? Chen Guo hesitated for a long time before saying anything. Everything went unusually smoothly. This was because Little Cold Hands was very clear on his own position. He knew the difference between heaven and earth. Before entering the pro scene, everyone was just like soy sauce to the pro teams. He accepted this fact, but the issue was that their team's goal wasn't to be soy sauce. The team had players, who definitely weren't at a soy sauce level. In the end, it was Little Cold Hands who reminded Chen Guo, "You'd better not treat God Yi Chu like soy sauce. If you treat him like soy sauce, the entire team will end up being soy sauce." Clearly, Chen Guo was used to treating Yi Shu as if he weren't a big deal, but Little Cold Hands didn't know that Yi Shu had been inadvertently picked up by Chen Guo. She hadn't gotten him through praying and burning incense. There was still some time before the Challenger League. Little Cold Hands was quite nervous that something would happen to the god. Chen Guo thought about it and understood. A normal person would think that there was no need for Yi Chu to form a team and enter the pro scene through something as risky as the Challenger League. With Yi Chu's identity, if he wanted to return to the pro scene, he just needed to say the word and he would grab all sorts of attention. A one-year break wouldn't be enough of a deterrence. Finding a team to join wouldn't be a problem. Wasn't that a lot more reliable than going through something like the Challenger League? As a result, Chen Guo felt like Little Cold Hands was being a thorn in the side, but in Little Cold Hands' eyes, Yi Chu was the thorn. "You don't need to worry about that. Yi Chu is the person leading the team," Chen Guo said to Little Cold Hands. Then he's the main investor? Little Cold Hands asked. Yes, yes. Chen Guo hadn't thought about this. Because of the question that Little Cold Hand had about his account, today became a day where everyone seriously discussed about everyone's share in the team. Before, they had talked about Wei Chen's investment in the team. With Little Cold Hand's reminder, Chen Guo realized that Yi Chu could be considered as an investor and his investment was very high. Apart from that, Wei Chen's investment had been in the form of skill books. Both of these investments were being used right now. Figuring out their share would really be troublesome. Chen Guo didn't really know how to calculate it, so she asked for Yi Shu and Wei Chen to help. These two had both experienced the days when the first teams were being created, so they had some knowledge about starting a team. Chen Guo finally understood after listening to them. In the early days, there were a lot of teams, which relied purely on passion without any real funds. Having food to eat and a place to live was already considered not bad. No one had any additional wages. Their income was solely from what the team earned. As for their share, it was based on their investment in the team. At that time, their investment was mainly just their accounts. Chapter 644. Finals. Investing in an account and then buying it out were the standard steps that any club would take during the initial stages of the Glory professional scene. However, those were no longer suited for use nowadays. This was because the difference between the current pro characters and online characters had become two extremes. The most a normal player could get would be a few orange equipment no matter how hard they grinded. Who would invest in such a character, when all the characters in the pro scene had self-made equipment? It clearly wasn't a possibility. During those initial stages, having a top character meant you were a top-tier player in Glory, so of course people would invest in them. Now, no matter how skilled you were online, you would just be cannon fodder in the professional scene. Who would care about you? Even if you weren't cannon fodder and had skills worthy of the professional scene, with how powerful the clubs were, they still wouldn't trade the account for stock instead of money. They would just purchase the account and finish the matter once and for all. Frankly speaking, the initial stages of the pro scene were like this because everyone was poor. When everyone was rich, it would be best to avoid this kind of method. As for Yi Shu and the others, they handed over their accounts to the team for free, which would save them a lot of trouble in the future. Chen Guo still wanted to talk about their future investments though. The Challenger League hasn't even started yet. Isn't it a bit early? Yi Shu expressed. Once we enter the pro scene and register, a professional from the alliance will investigate our assets. It won't be too late to decide it then. Oh, I think I heard Lulan / talk about it before. It really is like that, Chen Guo recalled. It wasn't like she had never managed anything before. She had chatted with Lulan / who had just formed his team as well. It was just that, at the time, she had been frightened. Lulan / used his vast amount of wealth to make various maneuvers, making her feel apprehensive towards managing the team. Relax. There's no need to worry about all of this. We just need players and accounts for now, Yi Shu said. Oh, Chen Guo immediately felt relieved upon hearing Yi Shu's words. As for Yi Shu, after resolving any issues with Little Cold Hands, he had begun upgrading his cleric account. He originally had 4,170 skill points. There were a total of 1220 points that could be obtained through the guide. Little Cold Hands was pretty lucky. If not, Yi Shu wouldn't have bothered upgrading the account at all. He would have just found and leveled up another cleric account. 1, 2, 3. Yi Shu completed the quests according to the guide. The account's foundation was decent and his luck was quite good. The skill books quickly piled up. His luck was quite good. I'm done, Yi Shu announced after consuming all of the skill books. How many? Wei Chen carefully asked. Haha, Yi Shu laughed. What are you laughing about? Wei Chen was puzzled. 4,925 points, Yi Shu announced. F***CK, Wei Chen became pale. The skill points on this annoying guy's account had even managed to surpass his windward formation. Furthermore, it was not too much or too little. It was only by a measly 5 points. Wei Chen wanted to cough up a mouthful of blood to cover up the 5 points. My luck's pretty good, isn't it? Yi Shu sighed. Wei Chen didn't know what to say. It was the team's account, after all. It was good to have more skill points. Wouldn't it be petty of him if he cursed now? He had been a team captain before, so he had always prioritized the team before anything else. He wouldn't ruin the team's cohesiveness all because of his selfishness. Within the group chat, Little Cold Hands was anxiously awaiting the results. As calm and cool-headed as he could be, he still hoped his account would have more skill points. The more points he had, the stronger he would become. Soon after hearing Yi Shu say 4,925 points, Little Cold Hands was shocked. So high, Little Cold Hands exclaimed. He wasn't someone who didn't play Glory. As a fan of Team Tyranny, he obviously knew that Han Wenking's character, Desert Dust, possessed the highest number of skill points in Glory with 4,880, but now, his Little Cold Hands had actually surpassed the number 1 character in Glory. This was something completely out of his expectations. "Little kid, you'd better work hard," Wei Chen suddenly said with a mixture of emotions. Little Cold Hands' account already belonged to the team. Evidently, this wasn't something that could be passed over by talking. Chen Guo had already spoken with Little Cold Hands and the latter would sign an agreement to transfer his account later. They would naturally return the account for Little Cold Hands to use afterwards. His skill points had soared from 4,170 to 4,925 at once, increasing by 755 points total. This was a huge leap in terms of strength. Speaking of professional accounts, which were already around 4,800 points, even if they got the points to the maximum, it would only be a 200-point difference. The scale of improvement couldn't even be compared to Little Cold Hands. It was unknown if and when Yi was too excited, but Yi Shu had to call for him several times in the group chat before he finally responded. Soon afterwards, Yi Shu discussed with Wen Yi about his account. Naturally, they talked about the skills. Through his knowledge of Wen Yi's playstyle, Yi Shu gave some advice towards how he should allocate his skill points. Having a lot of skill points, but being unable to fully utilize them would just be a waste. Naturally, no one would watch him give a lecture, so everyone went back to what they were previously doing. A day passed and the playoffs continued. The match between Blue Rain and Misty Rain progressed. Containing the word rain in their name was the only joke between them. Apart from the 2 matches against each other in the regular season, the two rarely interacted with each other. This made it difficult for the reporters because they couldn't find anything interesting to talk about. In the end, they could only write about boring things like their preparations for the upcoming match. Before the beginning of the match, the interviews between the two teams were also quite dull. There weren't any overly bold statements. They just said typical things like they would try their best and such. This was meant to be the semi-finals where they had to fight for a spot in the finals, but it was miraculous that the two teams didn't give off any sort of tense atmosphere. Upon that, the reports couldn't help but blab about experiences or things like staying reserved and such. The matches were, undoubtedly, at a high level, but it didn't have too many twists and turns. This could be seen from the news release conference after the match. Blue Rain would say that their opponent was outstanding, but they had better luck that day. Whereas Misty Rain would say that they did pretty well, but the opponent performed even better. Sparks were flying in the air. Where are the sparks? The journalists were close to tears. Chu Youngshu, the trump card and team captain of Misty Rain, was a girl, so she didn't have an aggressive aura. As for Blue Rain, their captain Yu Wenzhou was a gentle guy, so he was always courteous and polite during interviews. All the questions were answered appropriately, but the journalists failed to pick anything out from his answers. As for Huang Xiaoshan, although he owned a god-level character, that guy was able to stretch the topic from what he ate for breakfast to the shower from last night that turned cold and such during the interview, but everyone only wanted to know about things relative to the competition. Thankfully, the match between Samsara and Tiny Herb was about to start on the second day, so they could finally find things to talk about between those two teams. Since Tiny Herb was the champion from the previous season, it was obvious that they were planning to hold the title for another one, whereas Samsara had a high chance to win the championships. The clash between the two teams were evident. The writers finally had a place to release the pent-up sentiment after holding it in yesterday. The semi-finals between these two teams were treated like a final battle in the reports. In the end, this match lived up to everyone's expectations. The match between these two was much more vigorous than the previous games. The match fluctuated often, especially during the team battle. Samsara's one-man team style was presented distinctively. They were able to seize the victory in the end by using the sheer force of Zhou Zekai's strong performance. It was very easy to stir up the audience's passion when a single player was able to decide the competition's situation. Every forum in Glory was filled with heated discussions that night. Joe Zekai's popularity continued to grow at an insane rate. He became the indisputable MVP of the second day. All comments agreed that it had become a generation for stars. Yes, a generation for stars. Wang Jiaxi of Tiny Herb sacrificed his own style to change and blend in for his team's sake. This was, undoubtedly, a strong notion for teamwork, but now, such a team was defeated by Samsara, whose style was based on a single player's performance. Although the home and away regulations didn't finalize after the first match, the result of this kind of individualistic heroism earned a lot of favor among the audience members. The only regret was that Joe Zekai wasn't able to say something arrogant and ambitious like many other players during the press conference following the match. He could only answer the interviewers with, yup, oh, which left this stage with endless regret. The fixed picture afterwards caused the bystanders' blood to boil with passion, but the hero they cheered for stared back at them with no emotion. The scene was very contrasting. The burning zeal of this day had passed and it returned to the peaceful match between Blue Rain and Misty Rain. Blue Rain came out as the victor. After the match, Misty Rain expressed their blessings to their victorious opponent and Blue Rain expressed their gratitudes to the respective side. Blue Rain took the lead upon entering the finals. As for Samsara and Tiny Herb, under countless of expectations, Joe Zekai didn't let anyone down. In the end, Tiny Herb, who tried to defend their championship, was eliminated. The finals for the 8th season in the professional league was now finalized to be between Samsara and Blue Rain. If Samsara won the championships, they would become the 4th champion team in the league's history. If Blue Rain were to win, they would receive their 2nd trophy. During the break before the finals, all sorts of reports were spread around. It was the finals. Even if there weren't any gimmicks between the two teams, they had to find something to talk about. Let alone that there were many things that could be said between the two teams. After receiving major attention after the 4 matches in the playoffs, Samsara's skewed skill points had been detected early on. There were all sorts of predictions online and it was certain that all the clubs were having attentive research for this matter, but they wouldn't reveal what they had discovered. Speaking of the two teams' players, or precisely, the two trump players, Joe Zekai and Huang Xiaoshan. Although their classes were different, the two were always compared. This was because the two players' style were complete opposites. Chapter 645. Excessive improvement. Joe Zekai and Huang Xiaoshan were complete opposites of each other, whether that was on stage or off stage. Off stage, one of them was so quiet that people wanted to take a stick and pry his mouth open, while the other was so noisy that people wanted to take a stick and beat his mouth shut. On stage, Joe Zekai was the absolute core of the team and the main attacker. Wherever he was, that was where the most intense battle was taking place. Using his firepower, he pushed his team forward. As for Huang Xiaoshan, Team Blue Rain's strategies didn't completely revolve around him. He was like a specter wandering the battlefield, giving the feeling that he didn't exist. However, every move he made would leave a rain of blood behind. This was his opportunistic style. His numbers weren't impressive at all, but when looking at the content of a match as a whole, his existence could not be ignored because without him, the match would have ended with a completely different result. The other part of him, which definitely showed he existed, dominated the entire field. People could easily compare the similarities between the two players. At the same time, people could easily compare the differences between the two players as well. Huang Xiaoshan had become famous earlier than Joe Zekai, but after Joe Zekai became famous, these two names were frequently spoken about together. However, as of now, most people considered Joe Zekai to be a bit better. After all, an opportunist like Huang Xiaoshan required a precondition, an opportunity. If his opponents never gave him that sort of opportunity, his presence instantly diminished. This wasn't something that had never happened before. During the match, it would seem as if he didn't exist, but those familiar with his style would wait for him to suddenly jump out and give a fright. However, when the match ended, everyone realized, what? This time, he really didn't exist. Finding an opportunity was just one matter. Seizing the opportunity was another. Even for a master like Huang Xiaoshan, he couldn't guarantee that he could seize every opportunity that passed by. There would be moments where he did nothing, and with his style, if he failed to grasp the opportunity, he would be useless during the match. Because of the weaknesses in his style, Huang Shaoxian was less consistent than Zhou Zikai, so most people considered him slightly worse. However, Huang Shaoxian had a championship title under his belt. At that time, he played the decisive role in their victory, so no one completely counted him out. This time, these two gods would be meeting up in the finals. Whoever won would not only defeat his opponent, but would also take the championship cup as proof. This debate would finally come to an end here. All of the fans had been waiting for an entire year for this day to come. The fans of the both teams had done all sorts of things to support their teams. The game was the most direct way of confrontation. The two guilds clashed with each other constantly, making the guild leaders exhausted from their efforts. Yes, they were exhausted. Because the day before the finals, any conflict would erupt into an all-out war. Peacefully settle it and retreat. This was how the club guilds usually handled conflicts, but it didn't suit the particular occasion. At this moment, they needed to show their strength. The team needed to, as well as the team's fans. Even if they wouldn't gain any benefits, they absolutely couldn't back down. Wei Chen was the group leader for Samsara's fifth group. This period of time hadn't been easy for him either. He had very little free time to begin with. For the past few days, as soon as he got online, the guild leader would call for him and then have him rush towards a certain location. In an intense battle, how could there be any shortage of elite players? But because of the crises during this particular period of time, Wei Chen was being noticed by Samsara. In their eyes, Wei Chen's ability to lead was very high. Even amidst the chaos, he was sharp and decisive. Using a talent like him to lead teams in dungeons was a waste. He should be used to fight for wild bosses. That was a battlefield between players. If they didn't utilize such talents, wouldn't that be a waste? The upper echelons of Samsara discussed with each other. A portion of them believed that he should be used to fight for wild bosses. Another portion of them still didn't fully trust him. However, these doubts were eventually dispelled after a bunch of reverse reasoning. Samsara's core members discussed this issue and unanimously felt that sending such an expert to be a spy was way too wasteful. If he were placed in any other guild, he would, without a doubt, be taking the lead in the wild boss fights. What could he gain from being a spy? Samsara's core members pondered over this question. They couldn't think of any reason for an expert like Wei Chen to be a spy for such a long period of time. He couldn't be trying to vie for the guild leader position, right? It was impossible. The main guild leader was appointed by the club. It wasn't something that one's performance or the public opinion could decide. Samsara's core members couldn't think of any other reasons. The probability of Wei Chen being a spy was very small. The guild would always consider the value of a spy in terms of the competition between guilds. After getting rid of their doubts towards Wei Chen, his value became even greater than the potential risks. As a result, during the restless days before the finals, Wei Chen was appointed group leader for Samsara's second elite group. In a wild boss fight, guilds usually dispatched more than 2 groups. The first group would be led by the guild leader. This was just a matter of the guild leader's authority. As for the second group, their chances of participating in a wild boss fight were about the same as the first group. For Wei Chen to reach this position, he had reached the peak of his career as a spy. However, after becoming the second group's leader, it wasn't easy to find a place for his friends. The members of the first and second group weren't randomly placed. Even though the skill levels of his friends weren't bad under the guidance of Wei Chen, they still weren't better than the top players of these club guilds. These were the top experts in the game. In terms of skill level, they were better than Wei Chen's friends, and they far surpassed them in terms of equipment. What should I do? Wei Chen asked Yi Shu. His plans couldn't keep up with the changes. His rise in position far exceeded his expectations. Second group, that's not easy to control, Yi Shu said. Exactly. I can't get any of my people into the group either. If I wanted to do a sudden betrayal, it wouldn't be convenient anymore. If I give an unreasonable order, let alone the group not following my order, it might expose me too, Wei Chen said. Don't worry. I didn't say it completely depended on you. You'll just be coordinating with us. We have a few helpers already. We're about ready to act now, Yi Shu said. Where are the helpers? Wei Chen asked. Over there, Yi Shu nudged his head to point them out. Just those two. Wei Chen was a bit speechless. Yi Shu had pointed to Tang Ru and Steamed Bun. They had both just entered the heavenly domain. With the huge experience rewards in the heavenly domain, Tang Ru had reached level 70. She had a maxed out 5,000 skill points and was figuring out how to allocate them. Steamed Bun Invasion wasn't max leveled yet, but with his skill, a level or two difference wouldn't make too much of a difference. Even though their skill levels far surpassed normal players, if they went to join a wild boss fight with countless players, wouldn't their influence be too little? Little Cold Hands can come with us too, Yi Shu said. After upgrading Little Cold Hands' account, they had sent it back to him. Couldn't you at least get 5 people? Wei Chen said. Don't we also have our boss? Yi Shu said. Wei Chen said. What about me? Chen Guo raised her eyebrow. To put it plainly, you kinda suck. Wei Chen wasn't scared of Chen Guo's threat. He spat out the truth, not giving her any face. Better than nothing. Yi Shu also said the truth and didn't give her any face. You two can both go die. Chen Guo was furious. So now we have 5, Yi Shu said. 5. Wow, how amazing. Wei Chen nodded his head. Could your friends help us out too? Yi Shu asked. It wasn't easy for them to get into samsara. Isn't that just asking for them to be exposed as spies? Wei Chen said. You can use your original accounts. Hasn't the danger passed already? Yi Shu asked. Oh, those accounts never regained their experience, Wei Chen said. At that time, they had ravaged the guilds and had been killed many times in return. Who knew how many levels these accounts had gone down by? In any case, if they were 10 levels below the max level, they couldn't come. Even if it were 10 levels, going from 60 to 70 wasn't a matter of a few days, even in the heavenly domain. Or I could have them leave. In any case, with my current position, they can't really help me anymore, Wei Chen said. That's hard to say. Getting in wasn't easy. If we can have them there, we should let them stay there. If we need helpers, you can send them a batch to use, Yi Shu said. That's fine too, Wei Chen nodded his head. Even though he didn't have any on him, he had more than enough money to buy them. Are there still any wild bosses that haven't spawned this week? Yi Shu asked. How would I know? I just got the position, Wei Chen said. If one spawns, we'll immediately act and try our luck, Yi Shu said. With just you lot? Don't joke. Even if no one touches you guys won't be able to gain the boss's aggro. How much damage can 3 people output? Wei Chen said. 3 is too few. We'll find someone to collaborate with, Yi Shu said. Who? Heavenly Justice, Yi Shu said.